Hello there, my name is Lottie and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be talking through a bunch of books that I have had on my physical TBR for a really long time. This video is going to be hopefully the start of a series, or hopefully not, because I don't want to buy books that I don't read. That is inspired by Becca and the Books, where every 12 months she makes a video talking about books that will self-destruct. These are all books that she has owned for a long time that she's not interested in reading anymore, or she just hasn't bothered picking up, and if she doesn't read them by the end of the 12 months she has to unhaul them. So I'm basically doing the same thing, where I have a bunch of books that I have bought a long time ago, I was interested in reading at one point, or they were cover buys, and I just never got around to them. And then if I haven't read them by April 13th next year, hopefully I'll still be doing my channel then, I have to unhaul them and donate them to charity because I clearly am not that interested in reading them. I have a huge stack of books down here that I am going to be talking about in this video. Some of them you may have heard of, some of them might surprise you, but we'll get straight in. So the first book is actually a series of books, and that is the Uglies series by Scott Westerfeld. I read the first book last year and it was a 2-star read for me, which is why I've been really hesitant to read the rest of the series, but I thought since I own the entire series I may as well finish it, right? Well, it has been like 12 months since I read this book, and obviously I haven't picked up the rest of the series, so I thought it would be a really good challenge to set for myself to read at least Pretties by next year. I would like to finish the series by the end of the year. I'm not gonna push myself to read all 4 books if I'm not that into them. I did say that if I read Pretties and I don't like it, I will get rid of the series anyway. I got all 4 books from a charity shop quite a while ago now for pretty cheap, which is why I have the whole series. The Uglies series essentially follows a girl called Tally who is an ugly, and in this world when everybody turns out like 16 they undergo a surgery that turns them into a pretty, which essentially turns you from looking like a normal person into some hyper beautiful Instagram model looking things. It's like that sort of really high standard of beauty where it's not realistic, and essentially if you're not a pretty you are cast out from society. And what happens in this book is Tally's really excited to become a pretty, but she meets this new girl called Shay who isn't really sure if she wants to be a pretty, and basically Shay runs away to the wilderness and Tally is following after her and drama ensues. One of my problems with this book is the time I was reading it. I was reading this during a really busy time at uni for me, and then coronavirus happened, so I think I put it down for a little while. But also the writing style didn't really draw me in that much, so which is why I've been so hesitant to pick up the next book. But just talking about what happened now has actually made me not really excited, but has actually made me a bit more interested in picking up Pretties and seeing what happens next. Obviously if I don't read Pretties by at least next year I will get rid of the entire series. There's no point me keeping 3 books out of the series. So yeah, my goal is to read at least Pretties by next year. So the next book I'm going to be talking about used to be really popular on BookTube a few years ago, back when it first came out. Please don't hate me for not having read this yet. It is The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I'm really sorry that this is what I look like right now, but this is editing Lottie just popping in to say I'm really sorry I pronounced Renee Ahdieh's name wrong, that is how everyone used to pronounce it on BookTube years ago, so yeah, peace. This is a young adult fantasy, I think. It's a retelling of something. You can tell I don't really know what this book is about. I'd heard a lot about it on BookTube quite a while ago, and it's part of a duology, I think. I picked it up because it was part of a buy one get one free at Waterstones, or buy one get one half price at Waterstones. Because I'd heard of this book, I was like, oh, I'll get that one as well as the other book that I bought, whichever that was at the time. I cannot get over how beautiful this cover is. Like, it's absolutely stunning. But I think what's been really putting me off picking this up is because I know it's part of a duology and I don't have the second book. This is a thing that I do quite a lot, where if I'll buy the first book in a series just to test the waters with it, but then I never start that series because if I'm like, well, if I like it then I have to go and buy the next book. It's like, yeah, that's how reading works. This essentially follows the Caliph of Khorasan, who takes a new bride each night only to have her executed at sunrise. 16-year-old Shahrazad volunteers to marry him, but she does so with a clever plan to stay alive and exact her revenge on the Caliph for murdering her best friend and countless other girls, and then I think like they fall in love or something. This is a book that I've had for quite a while, which is why I'm like, well, if I'm not going to read it anytime soon I may as well just get rid of it, and you know, I'm clearly not that interested in reading it. I've been holding on to it I think because it is so beautiful, and I'm like, I will read that, it sounds really interesting, I just have not got around to it. So this next book is a pretty random one. I picked it up in a secondhand bookstore for really cheap during a time in my life where I was not obsessed with, but just sort of pretty like into following the author of the book, and that is Spectacles by Sue Perkins. I think I picked this up around the time Thronecast was on, which she presented, which was like a after party talk show thing about Game of Thrones, and also she was still presenting The Great British Bake Off at the time, so I was just like, oh, I'll read that book because it's by Sue Perkins and I think she's entertaining on TV. That was pretty much my only reason for picking this up. This is a memoir by her, which I think just talks about like different things that have happened in her life. Never really been that interested in actually reading it. I don't really have a lot to say about this one, but I will obviously be unhauling it if I don't read it in the next year. The next book, or rather books, is another pretty famous dystopian YA series. I picked these books up at another like secondhand bookstore, which is why I have them, but I couldn't get the final book in this series, so I think that's probably what's putting me off picking them up. I don't know. It's the Chaos Walking series by Patrick Ness, so I have the first two books, The Knife of Never Letting Go and The Ask and the Answer, and then I think the final book is called Of Monsters and Men or something. Oh, sorry, it's Monsters of Men. I don't really know a lot about this series, I just know that it was a really big dystopian series, obviously by Patrick Ness, who is a pretty famous author, especially here on BookTube. I read one of his other books that was really big on BookTube and ended up unhauling it just because I wasn't that into like rereading it at any point. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one where it's like following the side characters in like a fantasy. Is it called The Rest of Us Just Live Here? It's something like that, where it's like a fantasy, but it's following the lives of the everyday people who are just like side characters or background characters in a fantasy. So instead of following like what's actually happening in the fantasy, it's following like the randoms who are like at the high school, for example. I liked it, but I wasn't really that into it, which I think is what's made me hesitant to pick this series up, but I think I would like this more because it's more my thing. It's dystopian, it's fantasy, or whatever it is. I've been saying it's dystopian, it probably is actually fantasy, I don't know. But I saw that this has been turned into a series on like Amazon or something, and Tom Holland is in it, who obviously is Spider-Man, so I think that's put this back on my radar, and I would like to read that if I'm going to watch that series. The blurb says it follows Tom Hewitt is the last boy in Prentice Town, but Prentice Town isn't like other towns. Everyone can hear everyone else's thoughts in a constant, overwhelming, never-ending noise. There is no privacy, there are no secrets, or are there? Just 1 month away from the birthday that will make him a man, Todd unexpectedly stumbles upon a spot of complete silence, which is impossible. Prentice Town has been lying to him and now he's going to have to run. Yeah, that doesn't really explain like what it's about. But yeah, also what bothers me is that like the covers do match, but the spines don't match, so they look really weird on my shelves. And then I'm like going to obviously have to source the last book in this series. Obviously, if I don't read this first book in the next year, I will get rid of both of them. I'm not expecting to read the second book, as well as the same with the Uglies series. This next book is the perfect example of me picking up the first book in a series and then never reading it because I am apprehensive about getting the rest of the books in the series. And this is Dorothy Must Die by Danielle, Paige. Look how shiny that cover is. This is a Wizard of Oz, not retelling, but it's more like a sequel, where a girl called Amy Gum, who is the other girl from Kansas, has been recruited by the Revolutionary Order of the Wicked and been given a mission to remove the Tin Woodman's heart, steal the Scarecrow's brain, take the Lion's courage, and then Dorothy must die. I think it's basically like Dorothy's evil or something. Then this girl Amy has to save Oz. I don't know. Obviously I haven't read it. I think this is a really like interesting concept. I don't know, I've not heard a lot of people talk about this on BookTube. I don't really know that much about it, and I don't know if it's like worth it to read it. And also the other books in the series are like super short, I think, in compared to this one. I guess the fact that I only have the first book has been really putting me off, and the fact that I have to get the other ones. And also the rest of the books in the series don't match this because they're not shiny covers, they're like matte, which also really bothers me, which is a stupid reason to not pick up this book. I've had this for a very long time. I got this in Waterstones years ago. I think I was in sixth form, and I used to like go into town after I finished sixth form for the day, and then I would head to the bookstore and just walk around and maybe pick up a book, and I guess this was one of those books that I picked up. I thought it sounded interesting. This next book is also one that was really big on BookTube quite a while ago. I guess that's why I picked it up. Found it in a secondhand bookstore for really cheap, and it's Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I think I would have enjoyed this when I was a teenager, but now I'm not really interested in reading young adult romance. It's also one of those really weird books where it's like got the folding out page things, and also it's got these, I think, is it called deckled edges? I don't know what the term for this is, but I don't like that. It's really strange in my opinion. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. And also I hate the cover. I think the cover is so ugly. I did pick this up because I heard a lot about it on BookTube, but I was like, I'm never really intending to read like the second or third book. I think it's part of like a anthology series where it follows a different character each time. Basically, this is about a girl called Anna who has a loyal best friend and a crush on her co-worker at the movie theatre who is just starting to return her affection. So she's not too pleased when her father decides to send her to a boarding school in Paris for her senior year. But despite not speaking a word of French, Anna meets some cool new friends. Cool new friends? Wow! Including the handsome Etienne Sinclair, I'm really sorry, I'm really bad at names, who quickly becomes her best friend. Unfortunately, he's taken, and Anna might be too. Will a year of romantic near misses end with a French kiss she's been waiting for? Well, obviously it will, because it's a young adult romance. I'm not really that interested in reading this anymore, so I'm probably not going to end up reading this in the next year, but we will see. You never know, I might give it a go and read it for a readathon or something. I think I have been holding on to this for like a readathon prompt where it's just read a young adult romance or read a book set in France or something like that. So it's like, I could read that for that prompt. I've never read any Stephanie Perkins before and I don't really intend to. I have one last book on this list that I have to read in the next 12 months or all the books will expire and then be on hold. That is Moxie by Mathieu. This has been quite popular recently. The Netflix film has just come out, which is when I saw that the film was coming out, I was like, oh crap, I still haven't read Moxie. I was really interested in the concept originally, and then I've heard that the film has gotten a really lot of bad flack. I don't know if I want to read this anymore. This is essentially about a teenage girl whose mom used to be like a really massive feminist when she was in high school. She becomes a massive feminist and enacts loads of change in her school or something. Vivian Carter is fed up with sexist dress codes, fed up with gross comments from guys during class, fed up with her high school teachers who let it happen, but most of all, fed up with always following the rules. She sounded like me when I was at school. Viv's mum was a punk rock riot girl, inspiring Viv to create Moxie, a feminist scene that she distributes anonymously to her classmates. She's just blowing off steam, but other girls respond and begin to spread the Moxie message. Moxie girls fight back, and before Viv knows it, she has started a girl revolution. So this is something that I am actually really interested in reading still, but I obviously haven't picked it up, and I think it's just because it's young adult and I'm not really that into young adult anymore because I'm just coming out of that age group. The concept of this is actually something I was really interested in. I'm just obviously not that into YA anymore. Okay, so that was all of the books on my these books will expire in 12 months list. I'm going to attempt to hold up the stack, but if I do die, please remember me. Oops, I've got them. I don't know if I can hold this up. They're all falling off again. Okay, here we go. That's all the books. Okay, here we go. That's all the books that I have to read in the next 12 months. Otherwise, they will all be unhauled and sent off to charity for someone else to love them, because I clearly don't. Because there is no point holding on to books that you're not interested in reading or you don't like, because we don't need that negativity in our lives. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you found this entertaining. Let me know in the comments if you have any books that you've had for a really long time that you want to set the goal to read in the next 12 months or you will get rid of them. I would really appreciate if you give this video a like if you enjoyed it, because it would really help out my channel with the algorithm and all of that jazz, and also subscribe if you are interested in seeing more of my face. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again with a new video very soon. Bye!